I think directing makes you a better DP and DPing makes you a better director. So if you don't know cinematography, I think there's certain limit or like a wall that you're gonna hit as a director. I don't think you need to be really harsh on yourself. Like even if you're not making a full-time living as a filmmaker right away, you can still gain so much experience from working at a production company and that's still developing you as a filmmaker and pushing you closer to dreams. I think I would have started a YouTube channel if I didn't move to LA. For sure. I think it's just really risky to just, I want to direct only. I'm just gonna sit in my room and write for 6 months. Because I think 10 great scripts is worse than one made film.
Like, why do you think that made it to Sundance? You know?
I think that made it Sundance because of the scale of the story, because of the writing, and because of...
Yo, thank you so much for coming on. We're
Thank you.
big fans of yours. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to be here with us.
Thanks for having me.
And Daeil, how would you describe yourself in a professional capacity?
I would say I'm a filmmaker before anything else. I shoot a lot, and then I have my own projects that I direct.
Sweet.
But I also edit some commercials too.
So you do everything.
Yes, I guess I do a little bit of everything with focus of shooting and directing.
Great.
How did you first get into filmmaking in general?
So I grew up in Korea. I was more like a writer kid when I was growing up. I always was writing, and I was going on writing competitions and stuff. But Korean education sort of made me feel lost in terms of what I really wanted to do, right? And then when I was graduating high school, I had no idea what filmmaking was. It's like I had no idea that you use one camera and you shoot something and then you move to the next angle and then you shoot something. I thought everything was like they would use 5 cameras and shoot everything. But I really got to know what filmmaking process was like through storyboarding. And then that's when I kind of connected my passion for writing and the storyboarding. And it was like, oh my gosh, you visualize sentences that you write and you actually shoot with one camera just for that shot. You perfect that shot and then you move on. So that's been my whole thing throughout my journey. It's like creating this one frame and you focus on one shot at a time to create a scene, then a sequence, then a film. Yeah.
And Daeil, you're one of the only people I feel like is able to balance a DP career and a directing career together. And first of all, like, what made you want to do that? And second of all, how are you able to balance that?
When I first started filmmaking, it was me just doing almost everything. I grew up in Seoul and I moved to Buffalo, New York when I was 19 years old. So I graduated high school and I came here as an adult, not being able to speak English really well. Through filmmaking, I found a group of friends and people who trusted in me, and they just helped me make these little short films every weekend. I still work with them, whenever I can. I'll fly them out to LA, and they're very busy in Buffalo now as filmmakers. And through just these weekend shorts, 1 day shorts, like a 5-minute short, the actors are just like my friends too, or like my friend's grandma, because I think grandmas are always great actors. And when I was doing that with just friends, I was just writing, shooting, directing, editing, sound designing, color grading. Yeah, I was just doing everything. And that's when I started asking myself, okay, how can I make my thing look a little bit more like a thing that I watch in the theater? Because it was like a DSLR.
Right.
I was like 19, 20 years old, and I got my first DSLR, which was Canon 70D with a kit lens. So you don't even know what the cameras are supposed to do. But I know I was shooting a lot of things in black and white because I guess I sort of had that creative mind of how to make things more like profound, right? Like more watchable within the things that I had, even if I didn't have any knowledge. That's how I got into shooting, because I was shooting for myself. And then later on, I was like starting to get hired as DP because the real cinematography reel / directing reel was all like my stuff, but I was shooting for myself. So it was like I was building my DP reel at the same time. That was the moment when I was like, oh wow, I can get hired as DP and make money, but also more importantly, just keep pushing myself. Because when I first DP'd for someone else, it was really difficult because I had only DP'd for myself at that point. And it was like when you're directing and DPing, you know, this communication between the DP and director doesn't have to happen, right? But I was kind of there to execute someone else's vision. It was really harder. And then I got to work with a DP for the first time in my life as a director, which is Carlo,
Oh yeah.
who you talked about a lot,
Yes.
who you see as inspiration.
Yeah.
You know, I love Carlo, and I'm still very grateful for him. We're very grateful for each other because when he was trying to get into narrative filmmaking, I was kind of the first director that he worked with, and he was my first DP that I ever worked with. And when I let go of DPing, it was really difficult too, because at that point I had only DP'd for myself.
Yeah.
But the camera was not there, not in my hand. And we, you know, he's very obsessed as well. I'm very obsessed too. So on the first day and the second day, I could see this is kind of working. But then on the third day or something, I was like, oh my gosh, this is what directing is. This is like you don't care about camera, but you go to the actor and you block them, and then you go to the camera and you kind of synchronize this too. That was actually my first time working with a dolly too. So it was like you move somebody at the same time the camera moves, and then it kind of helps each other and tell the story. You could do that better when you're not actually worrying about the camera, I think. Yeah, you just communicate the shot that you have to your DP and to your actors, and then they come together. There was like the moment of me. Oh wow, this is like
Yeah.
I feel like I unlocked something. You know, this is like the fullest version of directing. Through working with him, I became a better DP too. Him and I talked about directing versus DP because he's only DP, right? But I was like, hey man, like I want to tell my stories, but I also love DPing too, and I get hired a lot. I'm grateful for that too. But we talked a lot about it, and then we were like, just do both, you know, do
Yeah.
both when you can, if you can, and that's kind of how I'm balancing, I guess.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
what are like some key insights that you've taken from directing that you think can apply to when you're DPing? Because you really do, as you said, you get to see sort of the other side
Yeah.
of that collaboration. What are some like specific ways that you adapted as a DP after directing?
I think directing makes you a better DP, and DPing makes you a better director, especially for our generations. Back in the day, DPing was so much more technical. You know, you got to learn how these stocks work and the process, how the processing works. But now, I'm not saying it's become easier, but it's just become more accessible, right? Like cameras are everywhere, and cinematography is a huge part of filmmaking now. So if you don't know cinematography, I think there's certain limit or like a wall that you're gonna hit as a director too. You gotta be able to communicate what you want in terms of cinematography to your director, and you can do that better if you DP it as well, a little, or at least a little bit. That's why I love working with directors who DP as well. Because we push each other, right? Like it's like this director DPs a lot, and I respect that. And then they would be like, "Hey, I've done this as a DP in the past," and then I'm like, "Oh, I've never done that before." But then their idea as a director, you know, they bring that in, and then I would be like, based on my experience, I would try to make it better, and then it kind of goes up together.
I asked this question to Giancarlo like at DFI a while ago.
Yeah.
But as a DP, like what kind of qualities in directors do you like when you were working with them? Or like even picking the projects?
That's great. Can they finish a project? It's like, can they finish a project in the best way possible? So I think some directors have these big ideas, especially because I do a lot of short films, right? We all do short films. For short films, you gotta be realistic, you gotta be efficient, you gotta make the best out of what you have, I think, within the limitations. But if you're imagining way, too of a big idea, then like with VFX and with huge production design or huge just scale, then this project is probably not gonna get finished. Even if it gets finished, it's gonna be clumsy. So I love working with directors who understand this, I think. Yeah, yeah.
Right.
Because I think cinematography is supposed to serve the story, and there's no story if the project is not finished well.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm curious though, out of all the projects you've DP'd, what is like the commonality between the favorite sets you DP'd for? What are the similarities of those?
When I have respect for the director and the director has respect for me equally, then that's when I feel more comfortable suggesting things, and then they're gonna accept because they respect me. And because I respect them and what they're gonna do in the edit or what they're gonna do with the actors or what they already have done with the script, because I respect them in that way, I would suggest the best possible ideas. That's when then they're gonna accept it, right? Because they respect me too. It's like we're both respecting each other. I think when that happens every single day, every single shot, at the end of the shoot, we are like, wow, we were gonna work together again.
Right.
Yeah, you kind of find the synchronicity with each other.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's awesome. And recently, I think it was around before January, or it was like sometime in December, all the Sundance notifications came out, and a film that you DP'd for, The Things We Keep, right?
Yeah.
Got in. What was the experience on that film? Because that was a USC thesis film,
Yes.
which I feel like kind of works a little differently than a lot of indie films, but also that was so well made. Even though I haven't seen it, but I know like that a lot of the people on the set, and I'd love to hear some of your thoughts and experience on it.
Yeah. That project, I kind of came on pretty last minute. And I met with the director, and she was just a lovely person. And I could see that she's very writing focused director. So everything that she was telling me about all the visuals was because of the writing, because I could tell, because of the quality of the script, I could tell she's a great writer and she spent so much time on this script. So I was like, I'm just gonna really serve what's written. But it's also a genre film, so it has to look fitting for the story, right? And the production design was amazing. So every time we look at somewhere,
Yeah.
it's already really, really good.
Like, why do you think that made it to Sundance? You know?
I think that made it Sundance because of the scale of the story, because of the writing, and because of how much work they put into the post production. They edited the film really well. I think even better than what we got. They did. I think they tried so many different edits, and they made the best possible version.
Wow.
Yeah.
And
And
were you involved in the post
oh
process?
no, I was not really. But I could tell. Wow, like because I knew exactly what we got, right? Because I was there to shoot every single thing. So I was wondering how this is gonna cut, because the whole story happens in one location.
Oh wow.
So it could feel a little not progressive, right? Like the story can feel not going anywhere. But they did such a great job moving the story forward through editing. And I'm also very proud of something that I suggested. Because at the end of the film, the character kind of goes through a transformation, like a realization. And the ending sequence, I was like, I feel like we need to have some sort of like a feeling of freedom. So it's like, why don't we open the windows, because the windows were blocked with like a material, because it was all shot on stage.
Mm.
Why don't we just open it and just shoot light through directly to the camera and have a flare? Because we shot anamorphic too. So I think that worked really well.
Nice.
Yeah. So there was like a feeling of transcendence, right? Like that was what I was feeling, and then I suggested, and then it worked. Yeah.
That's great. Yeah.
That's awesome. And you were in person at Sundance for as part of the program and the film. What was that experience like having your film at
Yeah.
such a prestigious festival?
Yeah. So our film was the first one to be played
Wow.
in the section, and the sound was amazing. It looked amazing. It looked the way it was supposed to look, and everyone really enjoyed it. So I was very, very proud of all the hard work. It was almost like it was paying off all the hard work that I've done for kind of other films too, right? Like not just this film, like all the other films, and it's just in my career, all the hard work that I put in to my career. I was just so happy to be there, and it was my dream to be there before 30 with a film that I'm playing,
Right.
Yeah.
Such a special moment.
So
That is great.
yeah, and then it actually happened. So I was like, wow, sometimes hard work pays off.
Oh,
Yeah,
I
no,
bet.
absolutely. And
Yeah.
you were part of the process, like you said, you joined the project kind of late in that process,
Mm-hmm.
and yet you created something that clearly elicited a lot of great response from people. So when you're in the pre-production process, working with the director, when you don't have necessarily, quote unquote, all the time you need or want, how do you make sure that you still be kind of on the same creative page with a collaborator in a shorter span of time?
I was just listening to her a lot, I think, and trying to understand what type of films that she likes and what type of storytelling she does. And then I was kind of seeing what I can bring to the table. I think I wanted to use practicals a lot. It was like my ideas too, because horror films being shot on stage. That's why we chose to shoot on anamorphic too. We didn't want to look like, because the stage it was built pretty tight. It was pretty tight, but we wanted to make it look bigger. So yeah, but we connected really well from the beginning, and shooting went well.
Well, I'm really curious because you talk about like how you were able to DP and then also direct, and I'm so curious, like how are you able to, because as a DP you have to put in a lot of time and a lot of hours like on set practicing, but then when it comes to directing you have to put in a lot of hours working with actors and getting your writing down. Like how do you find time to separate these two things to get good at both of these skills?
I think good directors are good writers. I think writing is everything if you want to direct something. So as long as you put your time into writing something, then I think you are getting closer to 1% closer becoming a director and to making that project happen as a director. But I really, really love serving someone else's story as a DP while I'm doing that. It's such a privilege, I think.
Yeah.
And the fact that people trust me to shoot their stuff and trust me just as DP, it's really, I'm grateful for that.
And I'm just curious, like, how do you organize your life and your time to balance like both these things? Like, maybe like this month is dedicated to writing, this month is DPing, like.
So I think because I'm shooting shorts, I can't talk about features and how that's gonna be like, right? But I don't write when the production is too close to be shot, right? Like the project is, maybe we have 2 weeks until we shoot this, then I stop writing and I solely focus on that. It's like a soft prep and then hard prep, right? For features there's soft prep and then hard prep, but I kind of do that for myself for shorts, I guess. And then when it's hard prep time, I meet with my gaffer almost every day. And even if we talk for like 5 minutes over the phone, we're like, I'm a little bit worried about this, and they're like, yeah, I'm worried about it too. But how can we get this done, and how can we make it quick? How can we plan for this with the gaffer? So yeah, as a DP, the best thing is the fact that you have your gaffer and your AC and your Steadicam up. I've been fortunate to have like a really good group of people that I trust and that I go to. They're like my good friends too, and they're always there for me. You just need to rely on them too sometimes. Yeah.
Do you like have a set amount of like DP gigs you try to take in a year, or is it just like any project that kind of comes to you and you're free, you try to take it?
Honestly, while I was at school, I was trying to work for good people, I think. First off, not good projects, maybe. Good people, I think, will do good projects.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was focusing on working with good people. That was kind of all I was kind of seeing. The scripts are, I think, usually good, hopefully. But even if the script was not the best, if I believe in this person, then I will work with them and I can suggest things for the scripts too. And
Yeah.
and then I know I'm gonna have a good time that way.
That's sick. I might have forgot, but did you DP Sonata?
I did, yeah.
That was really beautiful, and I was shocked when I found out it was shot on FX6.
Yeah.
Because my friend wrote the script and Elgin, my other friend, like directed.
Yeah.
It was really cool to see that. Like,
Josh wrote it.
I'm curious, like, what was the idea behind using FX6? Was it like a budget reason, or and did that not?
Creative reason.
Yeah, or did that not like turn you off from the project? Like, I'm curious on that.
No, so Elgin actually wanted to shoot on Venice. But if we were shooting on Venice, we were getting like worse lens, so worse. But I really wanted to shoot on Black Wings. It was Black Wings.
The lens, right?
The lens. And
what'd you like about that lens?
because we're going 4x3.
That's right.
I knew it was full frame that we need to shoot. And for me, Black Wings has like a perfect balance of being accurate, but also giving this nostalgic texture, because it's still a vintage look that they're going for, but modern lens, right? So it's like this story goes between younger version of themselves, and then it flashbacks to their like kids, right? Them being kids, but also it shows them as adults. So I was like, we need something nostalgic, but we need something modern too. So this was like, this is it.
That's really wow.
I didn't talk to Elgin about this because I didn't want to complicate things.
That's right.
But
you guys were on the same page about
yes,
what the story was. Yeah.
Exactly. We're as long as we're on the same page in terms of story. I try not to complicate things for the director. Like if I'm talking too much about lenses and stuff, like, because Elgin is a very visual director, but I don't think he's not a gear person, right? So I just chose that lens and he trusted me, and
That's awesome.
And like now that you're out of, because you graduated in December, and you're back to the
Finally.
real world,
Yeah.
or like the professional world, and I'm curious, like, how are you able to build like your current career to, have money to pay rent, for example, or like, how are you able to do that after grad school?
Yeah, so because I was working in the East Coast. I was working a lot in like the Western New York area before I was going back to USC, going back to school for MFA. I would say I was working maybe like a year and a half or 2 years, including if I include COVID too. So I never wanted to stop that momentum. So when I was going to USC, I was actually still working on stuff outside, and so that the transition is smoother. So for me, it has been thankfully smooth. Just I have all the other non-USC people that I work with maybe, and they honestly, some people don't even know that I was going to school.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
yeah.
Go ahead.
Is it like DP work mostly, or what kind of work is it?
I would say 70% DP work, 30% directing.
Wow, nice.
Yeah.
And how'd you go about like balancing school, which I'm sure like 508 and all the different
Yeah.
things, and then also have like side gigs on outside of USC. How do you balance?
I would say first year of LA, you know, because I was at MFA, you do 507 and 508. I don't think I worked as much. I think I worked a lot in the summer, but I don't think I freelanced a lot. And I was kind of generous to myself, and this is your first year in LA. Just focus on kind of getting grounded in LA and meeting more people, getting to know what LA's like. Yeah.
I mean, that's great. And I love how you brought up like that you did a lot of work during the summer. I think summer is a really good time to
Yeah.
be getting the experience in and stuff. And that kind of leads to what I had to ask is that this summer I wasn't able to like secure like I didn't try that hard, but I didn't get an internship yet. And I was wondering like I have around like 2.5 months this summer. What do you suggest I do? Currently a junior going into my senior year, and I want to get more into dping and directing, just like what you do. So what do you suggest I could spend these months doing?
I would say make spec commercials.
Okay.
Just even if you make one, just make some spec work, and keep writing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Spec commercials, do you mean like just like what do you, because I see a lot of spec commercials out there, right? And I'm just curious because it's so subjective, but like what do you think makes a good spec commercial?
I think because commercials are done with higher budgets, so it might not. If you're working on a spec commercial, quality-wise, you might not be able to match that, but you can write something that's unique. And so, if you can make something unique, storytelling, I think, is gonna help the product, and then from there, it's a unique commercial. Then
Right.
So even if it's like 30 seconds, you can write something very smart,
Right.
or like a 60-second thing. Then people kind of forget about how it's shot, how it sounds. Yeah.
Do you think it helps with like narrative filmmaking too? Because in some ways it is storytelling, but it's so short. Sometimes 30 seconds to 1 minute to tell one, like convey one idea. So do you think that translates into narrative work or?
Yes. So every spec commercial I've done, they're like storytelling commercial.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and then even when I do commercial, I love storytelling commercials.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if you saw it on Instagram, but USC had those two directors who made the Doritos commercial, and it was like a finalist in the Super Bowl competition, and they made this. It was called The Barbershop, and we had them on the podcast a few weeks ago, and their whole thing is they love being less flashy but more storytelling in their work, and I think that's so powerful, and that's what you kind of have to do, right? Like starting out.
I agree. Yeah.
What was your first ever spec commercial? I'm curious.
I think it's probably a Nike commercial.
Oh, nice.
But it was like I can send it to you.
Yeah.
I'm still very proud of it because of the storytelling. It was like a Father's Day theme.
Oh.
So it was about a son sending like a voice message to his father who passed away, but the son is kind of thinking of his dad because of a pair of Nike shoes that he left.
Nice.
Yeah.
Wow. Did you direct and DP that?
Yeah.
Cool.
That was when I was kind of doing everything. Yeah.
Right. And how long are these specs supposed to be? Like 30 seconds, a minute?
That one was like a 2-minute one.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah,
Okay.
it was like it's like a full story commercial type of thing.
Right.
Yeah.
But like looking back, would you still do the 2 minute, or would you think now you've learned like maybe do it shorter or longer?
Depends on the story, maybe.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
That's cool. That's cool. And I'm curious though, how do you find like a customer base that hires you for DPing? 'Cause especially when you started out in Buffalo, like I'm sure there's not a lot of DP people there. So it's like, how did you get that?
In retrospect, I was so lucky to land in Buffalo first. Coming from Korea, if I came to LA or New York right away, I think I would have been just one of the filmmakers who are trying to make
Right.
films. But because Buffalo was so small and not many people were doing filmmaking, it really helped me, like locations and just like people are willing to let you shoot at their place
Right. Yeah.
for free.
Totally.
We
Yeah.
get that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So hard
So
here. Yeah.
when that's why I was able to make just so many shorts and just so many like specs and just like not be so limited by not having the right things. Because when I came here, it was like, oh, you gotta do permits now, and and you gotta have script supervisor. I don't know why people are so, no offense to script supervisors, but like I'm talking about like you gotta have a DIT. I think USC, because USC teaches you how to make films the right way, right, and have all these roles. But when I was making little films in Buffalo, it was just like 3-4 people and just make things
Right.
with people's support and people are like interested in what you're doing.
That's true.
So yeah, so I was lucky that way, I think.
You know,
That's how I kind of built my portfolio, actually.
That's right. Did you? So you went to Buffalo? Was it just for college? Is that why you?
Yes.
Cool.
Which is so funny because I was moving to the US for filmmaking, with pursuing filmmaking, but I ended up being in Buffalo for some reason.
Yeah. Well, did you get a pick where you went, or how did you end up there?
It was one of the good options at the time.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I mean, that's New York, right?
There's still
It's
New
the
York.
state of New State
Yeah,
of
it's
New York,
state
but
of New
not
York.
New York City.
Yes, it's
Right.
like 7-hour drive.
So, wow.
Yeah,
That
it's
is
just like
that's
it's closer
incredible.
to Canada.
Oh right.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
It's
Okay.
right next to Toronto.
Niagara Falls. right?
Exactly, Niagara
Okay.
Falls. Yeah.
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 Wow.
That's-
okay.
So
That's a nice little town, though. You know. Would you ever like move back, or would you think LA is your new home now?
I think LA is my new home. Yeah.
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 I mean,
And
all the opportunities are
Yeah,
there. Yeah.
no, totally. And I'm curious though, like when you came to USC, you were already, very experienced in DP, in storytelling, and just filmmaking in general. So, and a lot of, a good portion of people in the MFA program are either transitioning from a different career into filmmaking. And what I've found, I'm not sure how true this is, but there's like a gap in, or there are people who are really experienced. There are people who are completely new to the technical side of it. What was your experience like working with people who had, I guess, like a fresh pair of eyes of looking at things, who weren't as technically skilled? And did you maybe learn something from that perspective? And what was it like collaborating with them?
Yeah, that's a good question. So to be honest, when I first came to the MFA program, it was 507. I'm like, oh my God, I want to drop out every single day.
Yeah.
Really, I was questioning a lot about myself and my life, and like, because I was so excited to go to USC, right? I was kind of building my own career in Buffalo, building this production company, and it felt like it was the right time to move. It was like I felt like we grew enough where if you really want to pursue narrative filmmaking, I really wanted to try out LA and be in LA, because I came from Korea to do this, so I wanted to go like all the way. I wanted to give it a try. And USC, is the best, so it's like I was so excited and I came, but then the program itself really is supposed to balance everyone, because like you said, a lot of people come from different backgrounds, like business, science, history, and engineering, anything, right? So I was never frustrated with people. I love my cohort, I love everyone that I met, because I think I don't think technical skills matter, right? Everyone has their stories that they want to tell. I was rather frustrated with the program. I think that's why USC made me a better DP, because I came with better technical skills. I could make things look the way that I want to make it look like, maybe, you know, or what this person is telling me to make it look like. So in a way, USC pushed me to be a better DP because I was able to shoot a lot of people's films. Yeah, and
Wow. Yeah.
and I was really trying to invest in them too, kind of, because like people invest in me when I was in Buffalo. Like I think Carlo is one of them. Really, Carlo. We worked on. We also created this Lego Spec too.
That's awesome.
But he would drive from New Jersey, so Carlo is DP that I worked with in the East Coast, and he would like drive up and he would bring his gear and everything. So it's like he did that because he believed in me and believed in things that I was creating. So I'm very grateful for that, you know. So I kind of would never look down on someone because they don't know some technical things, right? It's like if they are passionate about their story, I mean, it's a privilege to shoot for them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And speaking of Giancarlo, like, or do you call him Carlo?
Yeah.
Okay. Like how is he like, you know, in person? Because he's a huge fan of him and his YouTube work.
Yeah.
Really inspiring. And you know, what is it like being his friend and his collaborator?
I tell him this all the time too. Like I'm very grateful for him. I think he's grateful for me too, equally. I grew because I was able to kind of bring people because of the people around me, and he's one of the people who inspired me and I got to inspire, really. And you know, he's he's a very stoic person. He looks like he's always mad. Yeah. So, but I'm more like I'm very expressive. I like express my emotions, and I'm very. I'm not like, I'm still an introvert, but I'm very emotional. I would say like I cry a lot through like by listening to sad music and stuff. But I don't think he's like that. But he's more like
He doesn't cry.
yeah, he's very stoic.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I can kind of
so
tell. Yeah.
I think that's a great thing as DP. But sometimes I'll give him like feedback. Hey, like let's express more to each other. Maybe. Like, are you happy now?
Yeah.
Kind of thing. Yeah.
That's awesome. I
Yeah.
mean, he's doing a lot of cool YouTube. Like, you guys kind of brushed on like the two path, the YouTube filmmaking path, and
Yeah, dude.
the traditional one.
Wow, this is a good question. Yeah, because
Yeah.
we talked about this so many times.
And I'm curious, like, is there a new perspective for you now that so many years has gone since that episode?
Oh yeah. I think I would have started a YouTube channel if I didn't move to LA. For sure. Yeah, because Carlo was like really encouraging me to do it. Carlo was just starting. When I met him, I think he had like 1,000 subscribers. Yeah, he had just reached like 1,000. And he, you know, he did it consistently.
Yeah.
But I know he tells me all the time he wanted to quit so many times. And I would have started it, I think, if I didn't move to LA. But I guess I went for a more traditional path, right? Like going to USC, moving to LA, and I think there's pros and cons. You know, I got to meet amazing people in Hollywood, and I got to learn from them, and I got to work with amazing people in Hollywood and people that I look up to.
And like, because talking about the path, right? Like, what do you think nowadays is that traditional path? Because back in the day, like the traditional path is different than what works now. Like for you, how do you envision your path ahead in the future?
I don't know if you can say like YouTube is the future, or I don't know if you say like the traditional is never gonna die, or but you just have to maybe you just have to keep making stuff, right? But I think indie films are kind of coming back. as you know, like when great indie films do well now. And
Yeah.
but as you know, even if they're great indie films, they might not make money
Yeah.
like they used to, maybe, because of the streaming and everything.
Right.
And a lot of productions now are moving away from
LA.
LA because of all the different tax incentives. And can you imagine a future where you're traveling a lot for DP work, or do you imagine yourself spending most time in LA? Because if you're shooting a feature film that's even independent or studio financed, it's very likely that, you know, maybe for even a scene in America, you shoot in Canada or Vancouver
Yeah,
instead. So
yeah.
do you see traveling to be like a status quo if you develop a career in DP?
Definitely, yeah. Yeah, I love traveling, and I got to travel a lot last year. Went to San Jose, San Francisco, Utah, and I think travel jobs really inspire you. You know, it's really fun, first off, and when you travel somewhere, you get to bond with the crew even better. So it makes you it makes you realize like why you're doing this too, because it's really, I think, about people that you work with.
Right. And
Yeah.
I feel like in the future, there's a lot of like doom and gloom talk about the industry
yeah.
with AI and all this streaming. And like, are you optimistic about the future of filmmaking or your own career?
um as long as I keep believing in what I do, maybe I will get somewhere that I want to be, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What is that
And
place that you think you want to be?
just like, because I really consider filmmaking as my calling, and it's just not my profession only, you know. So I hope to tell stories that are meaningful, right, and that are looked back on in the future,
Right.
like the projects.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Is that mostly like directing work, you think, or even like how beautiful the shots looked from a project in the past?
I think, yeah, so practical, so you're asking me like a practical question. I think practically, really, if I could direct a film, really like a sizable one film in like 2-3 years, but in between I would be DPing as well for 2 or 3 sizable films in 3 years. DP
Like
wise,
feature film?
yeah, feature,
Yeah.
or TV shows too. Then I think that's like a dream for me. Like I really, I don't know what it's gonna be like in the future, but I
Right.
feel like doing both might be possible, or maybe I would not do both. Maybe I would not like pursue both in 5 years. Maybe I would be like, this has given me more opportunities, and this I feel more called to do this than this, and then maybe I'm gonna lean more towards it, because I think it's only the beginning, right? It's like, yeah,
Totally.
yeah,
And filmmaking is such a long journey,
yeah.
and it really takes patience. But how do you, when you feel like you're at a place where you're stuck, or maybe a burnout, or maybe, you know, you've done everything you have been told to do to be able to have a career, but then things don't go the way you necessarily wanted to? How do you keep yourself busy and keep creating? Or maybe you take a break. Like, what was your method of powering through?
I think I try to look at rewards, even if they're so little, even if they're such small rewards. You just have to be looking at it as like a big win for you, maybe. Because I also remind myself sometimes, like, just think about your background, think about where you came from. You are not even from here. I don't have any family here in the US. So it's like, you really have to do this with faith, maybe. It's like, yeah, that you have a bigger purpose in this, rather than just making great things or pretty things. Yeah.
I'm curious though, like as someone, because filmmaking, a huge part is being able to get the funding for the projects and also putting food on the table and paying rent, right? So as someone who's, who's been kind of living off of their parents or like me, you know, and who has to transition to like a professional world where I'm on my own, like how can I better prepare myself for that, you know, how as a DP or as a director to have financial freedom in the future, or you know, how would you suggest someone could do that?
I guess really be harsh on yourself. Am I ready to freelance full time? Or do I want to have a part time job somewhere that's still related to the industry that you want to be in? Because you're still so young, you know?
Yeah.
I don't think you need to be really harsh on yourself. Like, even if you're not making a full time living as a filmmaker right away,
Right.
you can still gain so much experience from working at a production company, and that's still developing you as a filmmaker and pushing you closer to the dreams. In the meantime, you'll be writing your things, and maybe you can do a weekend shoot to really express your creative needs. And you know, because I was also working at a broadcast company when I first started.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I was working full time actually. So I would like still write scripts maybe after I, you know, get off, and then I would do like a weekend short.
Right. Yeah.
Then I'm just very happy. I think like, oh, I have this steady thing, but I have something that I'm creating. And then once you're done, you're editing it, and you're constantly pushing yourself creatively, right? So that means you gotta work double maybe in a way, right? But still, you're doing something that you love. So
Yeah. Do you think you're like after grad school you're doing freelance full time now, or are you thinking about getting another job or?
yes, I'm doing freelance full time. It's also you gotta look at kind of how much you've saved too, right?
Yeah.
Carlo does a really good job in terms of like breaking down the finances. And like as a freelancer, finance is still really tough for me. Like being organized, you gotta be because you're your own boss, so you gotta be organized and keep everything organized so you know how you're doing, and so that you are not freaking out, right? Because you might be doing better than you think, but if you don't know what you're doing exactly, how much you're making, how much is going up, then you can freak out. But then if you actually look at that, it's like, oh, I'm actually really doing well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Does it fluctuate a lot, like month to month? Are there
Yes.
months where you're really busy and then other months that aren't as much?
Yes, maybe some month I would make a lot more, and then that kind of supports the next month and the next month, and then maybe some months are a little less, but like I said, you're supported by the months that you made really well. Yeah,
What kind of projects is it usually that you make it really well? Like what kind of
it's commercials.
Commercial.
Yeah.
how do you get into like commercial DPing? And how is that different than commercial directing, you think?
Oh yeah, I think commercial directing is so different. It's like, yeah, commercial directing, you really need to know the directors.
Interesting. Like
DP, sorry, commercial directing. If you want to do DP commercials,
oh right,
yeah,
yeah.
because they're the ones who choose DPs. Really, yeah.
Right.
And I mean, maybe it depends. Maybe the agency too. Yeah.
How do you like meet these directors as a DP for commercial, you think?
I think sometimes random, or sometimes even if it's not a huge commercial, you make something together, and they kind of stay with you, and then they get to do a bigger one. Then I would do that one too. You know.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Do you enjoy your time on set, by the way? Is that something you
Yeah,
love?
I love my time on set.
You don't see yourself ever doing like an office job or like a post job, you think?
Like color, maybe even.
I don't think so. I mean, I think it's very physically demanding, right? Being on set.
Yeah.
But that's why I'm getting better at kind of keeping myself healthy when I'm not shooting, when I'm not on set. And you gotta really take care of yourself, otherwise it's so much, right? It's like
Mm.
physically and mentally.
Like, what are some of the practical advice you have for like people who needs to take care of themselves too?
Go get massage, right? And then
Oh.
yeah, go
Yeah.
get massage, and then I run a lot actually. I run every morning.
Oh my god.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like on a treadmill or outside?
No, outside.
For
That's-
how long?
For like an hour, 45 minutes.
Wow. Wait, that is.
Okay, I need to start doing that because I've been trying to run like 15 minutes every morning and
Hey,
I'm already exhausted.
Consistency matters.
Yeah.
more.
Yes,
Yeah, that's awesome.
but when I'm working on set, I don't do that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's too much.
Set is the exercise.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wow. That's great.
I'm curious too. Right now, there are all different kinds of formats and media that are coming out, and one of the biggest ones that are really trending is vertical.
Verticals.
You know where I was
Yeah.
going with this. Have you tried DPing or working on it? How, if so, what was your experience like? And if not, would you ever try it out?
I actually have never DP'd one, but I think I would be really good at it because I have worked with nothing, so I'm really quick.
That's right.
So it's
That's
like
their
this-
demand.
Yes, their demand is to be quick but good, right?
Yeah.
So I'm interested in doing it, but maybe not all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm also curious, like, back to directing, like, as a director, like, how did directors make money, you know, at our level? Do they make money? Is that why, you know, it's important to have a side gig if you want to pursue directing, like, full time eventually, to have, like, a side job or, like, a freelance thing?
I think commercial directing is like its own path almost. So you gotta really go deep into it to be able to really even get there.
Right.
Unless you already have established yourself as a narrative director, like let's say your feature is really successful, then maybe you can do. Then you do commercials too, right? Because they know you as a director. But if you start as a commercial director, like I want to be a commercial director, then you kind of go down the path. I think it's just really risky to just, I want to direct only.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna sit in my room and write for 6 months.
Yeah.
That's not me though, I think.
Right.
But I know a lot of people can do that, and I'm very impressed. But I don't think I am like that. I love to keep meeting people. I love to keep creating on set and tangible stuff. That's why I love DPing too. So, you know, like I said, like don't be afraid of getting like a part-time job or even full-time, and at the same time pursue directing by writing. Once you have a good script, then that's when you make that.
Do you still find time to write when you're not busy? Is that something that you still do, like create as another creative outlet other than DPing or directing?
Yeah, so I'm actually in pre-production for my Sloan project. I was fortunate to receive a Sloan grant, and that's kind of like my, because it's coming up, so I'm focusing on that right now. Yeah.
And you're directing that one.
I'm
And you
directing
wrote the.
Yeah, I wrote
so
that
you're
one.
a writer director.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
Cool.
That's great. How do you go about like keeping a consistency when you're writing stuff? Because a lot of times, like you finally finish like a feature script, and you're like, you know, I want to just give up, or like,
Yeah.
how do you consistently write and get better at that?
This might sound crazy, but I've actually written 8 feature-length scripts
That's
in
wonderful.
my life, but maybe only 2 are like somewhat good. 6 are like trash, I think. I just wanted to it was like in my early 20s. I just knew kind of if you want to direct, you kind of need to write and have scripts. And I thought when I was writing in my early 20s, those are gonna be good ones that I'm gonna use in the future.
Yeah.
But for me, there was no way that I was gonna write good scripts in my early 20s, I think. I just needed to get all these bad ones out and
Yeah.
just kind of practice how to commit to writing a feature, and how to structure, and how to feel not lazy enough every day to write it, like, push yourself, and just like one day you will find something, because a lot of directors working today, like big directors, they have so many scripts that they've written that are never going to be made. So if you wrote one, that's great, that's amazing, but maybe that's not the one that you're meant to make next. So it's like, if you write 5, maybe you find one.
Yeah.
So
Right.
Would you be interested in directing? Do you see yourself directing other people's scripts if you were to pursue a career in directing, or would you rather be the director of your own stories?
No, I love working with other writers. Yeah, I don't think I don't think I used to be that way. But because USC really has great writing program, I think. I'm currently working with a co-writer on this Sloan project that is gonna be a short first, and then, but we're developing into a feature. So, yeah, I think don't be afraid to work with co-writers.
Right.
But I think I was when I was like in my early 20s. I'm in my late 20s now, and I kind of learned, wow, I should have started working with co-writers earlier. Wow, it's so much more creative and freeing, and but I think maybe I had this like a little bit of like, oh, this has to be mine, and yeah, and maybe I didn't meet enough writers too.
Yeah, especially in the industry, a lot of well-respected directors don't necessarily write their own scripts, and they work with a well-seasoned screenwriter to bring a project to life. And do you see yourself more being on the writing side of things? Would you ever write something and let someone else direct it, or would you rather direct something that someone else has wrote? If you had to pick one,
Yeah,
one only.
definitely. I would direct something that someone else wrote. If I'm the right person for it, I guess.
Right.
Yeah.
And I'm curious, because our viewers, there's people from all disciplines, like writers, directors, and DPs, right? And as someone who does all 3 things, I would like to hear, what are 3 like practical things you can do for each of the disciplines that our viewers can do right now to get better for each one? Like, so 3 advice for each of those 3 things.
I think if you're a writer, right, everybody says this, but because writing is really hard first off, and it doesn't have to be personal. I think it has to be important to you. Because writing is so hard, and even after you write, even after you finish writing it, it's so hard to get it made.
Yeah.
So if it is important to you, then you're gonna kind of keep pushing for it. Because I think 10 great scripts is worse than 1 made film.
Right. Yeah.
So you just have to make it too, right? Yeah. Or directors, maybe make something small. I've made so many small stuff, I think, and I just learned how to edit better, how to sound design better each time, and how to color better, and then you kind of get to know what your strengths are. I love sound designing. I love telling stories through sound, but I don't think I'm a sound person. Yeah, I really appreciate it, and I believe I have pretty good ear, but I don't do it,
Right.
And I love music. I love the process of scoring, and I love working with composers, but I don't do that too, right? So it's like, just by making small stuff, when you do everything, you kind of know what you are naturally gravitated towards. Yeah.
And like storytelling and filmmaking in general, so much of it is about the thing you're actually portraying. And I wonder, you said you're interested in music as well, so what are some other mediums that aren't necessarily related to filmmaking that you draw inspiration from?
The music for sure.
Mm.
Yeah. So my mom is music professor, and
Oh.
I grew up with music.
Wow.
Yeah. So it was like, I remember as a kid, I would wake up and music's playing, and then I'm going to bed and music's playing.
Yeah.
So that's why pacing is really important to me, I think. Directing and DPing, no matter what. Like, I love pacing while shooting. It's kind of like you kind of need to trust your internal clock. And by pacing well, I think you can make bad actors look good, like act good. What I'm saying is,
That's right, yeah.
by taking the right amount of beat, or by just not saying anything for, for a while and then say something. It's like, to me it's kind of like that. I think, yeah. And you're kind of editing as you're shooting. I think that's always good, because you're committing to that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that.
Wow.
Committing to that. You're controlling what the audience is gonna really see by editing at the same time shooting.
And I'm also wondering, because I see a lot of short films that it's like mostly shot on tripod, but I also see some other films that just like camera goes everywhere. And I get like people say it's like whatever fits the story.
Yeah, yeah.
But it's like, how do you really figure out if it fits a story or
Yeah.
not? Because I think a lot of like Spielberg, so much camera movement
Yeah.
all over the place, wonders. But there's other ones just like still frame.
Yeah.
And it's like, I'm really curious, like, how do you break down a script to figure out how to best tell that script as a DP?
I think good tripod shots have the intimacy of handheld. When you think about handheld, we generally think the handheld makes you feel like you're there with them, right? And you're kind of more intimate with them. And you feel the urgency a little bit more. You feel the tension a little bit more. But good tripod shots are so well framed that it feels like it's intimate. And good handheld shots have the feeling of composed, I think. It depends on the blocking, like if you want to move the camera or not, and the whole language of the film. Like, is this a tripod movie? Is this a handheld movie? Or is this a Daeil movie? Daeil / Steadicam.
Yeah.
And you kind of establish that early on.
How do you... In what circumstance should it be like a Daeil / Steadicam movie? I'm curious. Like, what are some examples?
I don't know. 'Cause, I think it all depends.
Yeah.
I think even the horror films can be all handheld.
Yeah.
But maybe horror films can be all really Daeil heavy, like slow pushing, or the things we keep that went to Sundance, that was actually all sticks, all Daeil.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, we had no handheld.
Oh, so it was all smooth. Or
Smooth.
still.
But I think I really try to have that intimacy. Like I said, like good tripod shots have that intimacy, I think, of handheld.
What makes a good tripod shot versus a bad one?
Composing perfectly every time, maybe, like every second you're composing, right? If the subject is moving, you're like composing it. And it, even if it's a wide shot, it conveys their emotions, but at the same time it shows their surroundings. So it kind of tells the story both ways.
Right.
Because you can see things better maybe when it's like a wide shot static. No.
There are also DPs who, in my opinion, who kind of adapt to different styles really well. They don't really have like a quote unquote look. But then there's also other DPs where I feel like, that's like this DP, of course this DP was behind the camera.
Yeah.
I'm curious, do you see yourself being more of like a, you know what, I want to try out a film where it's just all handheld and all flat, like
As
there's no
DP.
as DP, or do you see yourself, you know what, I have my own style, if you want to hire me, I'll go do it.
Oh yeah.
What type do you think you're?
I don't have style for sure, I think. That's what I love about DPing. like being a chameleon.
Mm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you meet the director and the story, then you do that the best. And that's what I love about dping. I think dping is the most instinctual process of filmmaking. You know, like I said, like you gotta trust your instinct all the time, and that's how you maybe sort of have style, but these bigger decisions you gotta follow the director or in the story.
Is that also how you go about it on set? Because a lot of times time is the biggest, time and money are the biggest constraints, and when you really do have to move on, do you rely on, what do you rely on to go, you know what, for this last take that we have time for, here are the adjustments that we have to make, and when do you know when you've got it?
I love taking the first shot as sort of rehearsal to myself, I think, in a way, because I know the director is not gonna do one take and then move on, right? So
Yeah.
me and gaffers, like, let's see the take. I say that a lot to my gaffers. We're lit, we're like ready to go. I tell the AD we're ready. But the first shot, because I do want to see the acting, I do want to see the emotions. Then we make some adjustments. You know, maybe the shadow is too deep, or maybe it's too. We don't need the hairline right now. Like that kind of, like for instance, you really get to know that when you do the first take, I think. So for me, I kind of, it's like a secret rehearsal to me. Because the actors don't give their best to rehearsal sometimes, maybe. Like blocking rehearsal, camera rehearsal. I don't think that helps me the most. Like the actual take, the first take. When we do that, I get to know this shot the best. Then I make adjustments. And then second, third, it gets a little bit better sometimes too. Yeah.
And going off of that, we talked about music a lot, and I know you got the chance to work with Michael Giacchino.
Yeah.
If I'm pronouncing that correctly. Obviously a legendary composer,
Yeah.
and you being someone who also are really grew up with music. What was the process like working with him as a director and you as a DP? Were there any special moments from that experience?
Yeah, working with Michael Giacchino. His name is Giacchino. like I said, another moment of gratitude and like, oh wow, hard work pays off. It's like, because I really grew up watching movies that he scored, and some of these scores are even more vivid in my head than the movies.
I
For
totally get
real,
that.
yeah.
I get that, yeah.
So it's like, wow, you have no idea, Michael. Because the first time when we met in person, I was like, I'm gonna have to tell you something. You have no idea, Michael, but you really like shaped my childhood. I think the reason why I got that job is because I was so efficient with the type of filmmaking that I was doing. They were like, how do you make things look good without money and time? But that's all I was doing, right? Up until this point.
Right.
So I was like, no, I that's all I was doing, and that's all I knew how to do, and hire the right crew. I have like a commercial crew that are maybe more accurate with their things, and but more like a narrative crew. It has to be imperfect sometimes, right? Like I think imperfection is perfect in narrative filmmaking, narrative cinematography. So I pitched all that, and they were like, they chose me. So it's like, because they could have chosen so many more experienced DPs, but I think that's why I was picked.
That's awesome. And have you worked with colorists in the past with your DP work?
Yeah.
Because I'm trying to get into color grading. I've been using DaVinci for the last like 5 years.
Yeah.
And I've been coloring my own movies. And I was like, you know what? I can start coloring for other people's movies too. And as someone who's just trying to get into it, I'm curious, like, what do you think is something that a colorist could do to like hone in the craft? And what do you see in colors that is important to you? And like, how does someone get good at coloring, you think?
I color my stuff sometimes too. if it is small or if there's no budget.
Mhm.
But I think good colorists are the ones who know how to make things look the way that their customers want, right? Like I can only make things look the way I would make it look, right? It's kind of like I don't think I can get requests. Oh, I guess I can, but it's like I don't think I can get there. Maybe like the colors, yeah. So they need to practice different looks, I think,
Right.
to be good at it.
Yeah.
Because everybody's gonna ask for different looks, right?
That's right.
There's like
Amazing.
unlimited ways of, yeah.
Yeah.
So if they have like a really just one style and that's it, then I don't think it's the best.
So kind of same as DPing,
Yeah,
in a way.
same.
Yeah. So you have to like fulfill the needs of the actual
Exactly,
project.
exactly. Yeah.
Gotcha. So on this podcast, what we do is we have the previous guest leave the current guest a question, and the previous guest of this podcast left a question that asked, "When do you feel like you shine the brightest as a human being?"
When I genuinely show love to people,
Nice. That's beautiful.
that's when I feel like I'm most human and feel connected to the world.
Yeah.
Well, that's a beautiful send off to this episode, Daeil.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for
Thank you so much.
for being on. This
Thank you.
Such a privilege to get to speak to you about some
Thank
stuff.
you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
And best of luck on your, DP and directing career. Love to see
Thank
what you
you.
do next, and the Sloan project too.
Thank you so much.
Yeah,
Awesome.
best of luck.